Now in prime time, from the Bay Area's local news station, you're watching KRON4 News at 10.
Active shooting in the area. They're ascertaining it for needed.
Now at 10, the Bay Area is still reeling after the mass shooting this morning at the VTA Rail Center in San Jose, as federal and local investigators continue trying to put the pieces together to figure out exactly why and how all of this happened. The gunman who killed himself before police got to him has been identified as this man, 57-year-old Samuel Cassidy. Good evening. Welcome to KRON4 News at 10. I'm Ken Wayne.
And I'm Catherine Heenan in for Pam Moore. Details continue to come out, but here's what we know right now. First reports of shots fired at the VTA rail yard came in at 6:34 in San Jose.
After those calls came in, Santa Clara County Sheriff's deputies, along with federal agencies, all responded to the scene. By the time authorities got control of the situation, Cassidy had killed 8 people before he turned the gun on himself.
We begin our team coverage tonight with KRON4's Taylor Brasacki. She has been following this investigation and joins us live with where things stand tonight. Taylor.
Well, things have definitely cleared up over here in the area where this all started earlier this morning. Just about an hour or so ago, police began taking down the tape that blocked this perimeter out of the facility, and the roads are now open, as you can probably see that a car just passed. But it took a long time to get here. You may remember earlier throughout the day we've been mentioning that deputies, police, they had to actually clear this facility and all of the buildings because they detected explosive materials. Well, they were finally able to cross that scene and get on their way with the investigation.
Chaos and carnage erupted in San Jose when a gunman, 57-year-old Samuel Cassidy, shot and killed 8 of his coworkers and critically injured another at the VTA rail yard around 6:30 Wednesday morning. County officials say Cassidy began shooting after a morning union meeting where 40 other employees were present. The Santa Clara County Sheriff's Office and San Jose Police immediately responded.
First teams through the door were the Sheriff's Office and San Jose Police Department. And they're my true heroes. There was active shooting going on at that time. There were victims shot in 2 separate buildings.
Santa Clara County Sheriff Lori Smith says once Cassidy realized law enforcement arrived, he turned the gun on himself and took his own life. She says deputies did not exchange gunfire. In addition to the shooting, the sheriff's office detected explosive materials at the rail yard, but say there is no danger to the public.
We actually had an explosives dog on scene, which detected to some type of explosives material at the crime scene itself. At that point, we activated the Sheriff's Office bomb squad, who is currently on scene, and render any type of suspicious packaging safe at that point. I'll tell you, it's going to take a long time to render these areas safe. They have to go through every room and every building to ensure that everything is safe.
In addition to this VTA rail yard shooting location, local, state, and federal authorities are investigating a second scene less than 10 miles away at the 1100 block of Angmar Court. That's where Cassidy lived. He's suspected of also setting his house on fire sometime before the shooting.
Now, we still don't have a motive on what caused Sam Cassidy to open fire on his coworkers here, but we hope to learn more in the coming days. For now, we're live in San Jose. Taylor Brasacki, KRON4 News.
Thank you, Taylor. Tonight, we are hearing from the attorney for an ex-girlfriend of the gunman. She describes her relationship with Sam Cassidy as challenging and described him as a man with mood swings.
She said she never saw guns in the house, and despite their relationship, she says she was shocked to hear about what happened this morning. KRON4's Michelle Kingston has more from outside Cassidy's home.
We also heard from a neighbor of Cassidy's who described him as an unfriendly and scary person. He shared chilling video with us of Cassidy leaving his home Wednesday morning. This is video of Sam Cassidy, the 57-year-old gunman who shot and killed 8 of his co-workers at the Valley Transportation Authority. This is video from 5:40 this morning before the mass shooting. You can see him holding a large duffel bag and getting into his white truck just outside of his San Jose home.
I was scared him. He looks scary though. He doesn't say anything. He's kind of quiet.
The surveillance video comes from Doug Sue, a man who has lived across from Sam Cassidy for years. Sue says Cassidy lived alone and that he never saw friends or family around.
He never talked to me, say hi. He's kind of staring at me all the time. He never say hi. he just don't say anything. Kind of scare him. He looked like a scared person.
About an hour after Cassidy left his home this morning, his house went up in flames. This video, also taken by Sue, shows the thick black smoke billowing out from the home on Angmar Court, just off of East Capitol Expressway. KRON4 is also learning more about Cassidy tonight. His ex-wife said he had a bad temper and that he would tell her how he wanted to kill people at work. She said he had been treated for depression. They divorced in 2005. Robert Cummings, an attorney who represents a former girlfriend of Cassidy's, says his client witnessed mood swings and said he was bipolar. After dating for 2 months, Cassidy proposed to this woman. She said no because it was too fast. That is when the attorney says his client began to witness odd things happening with Cassidy. This was in 2009.
Things became challenging. There was definitely issues of forced sexual contact and other things to that effect. She felt that he was bipolar. She felt that his moods ran hot and cold.
Now, both women say they have not spoken to Cassidy since their relationships ended. They both also said they were surprised to hear what happened. In San Jose, Michelle Kingston, KRON4 News.
Authorities also spent the day cautiously searching through Cassidy's home.
And that is where we find KRON4's Gail Ong. And Gail, understand some neighbors have been allowed to return in the last hour or so.
Yeah, Ken and Catherine, you can see that patrol car still blocking the court where the gunman lives. And this area is open for foot traffic. And I have seen residents escorted back into their homes after showing ID. Now, at this hour, it has not been revealed what was found inside his home, but the area was blocked off for several hours today as the bomb squad and the FBI were looking for bombs inside the home. Now, we want to get to some surveillance video. A neighbor showed me. He lives right across the street from the gunman. It shows the gunman leaving his home about an hour before the shooting. You can see he is in a blue jumpsuit. He is picking up a duffel bag and putting it inside his white pickup truck. So this is about 10 miles away from his workplace, the VTA yard rail near downtown San Jose. And this neighbor also shared with me video of the gunman's home set on fire. It shows a huge plume of smoke around 6:30, which is about a few minutes before the shooting happened. I did speak to this neighbor who describes Cassidy as a scared and strange person, and this is what he had to say.
He doesn't say anything. He's kind of quiet, and then, I was scared though. But after that, I ignore him. He's living alone. I never see his friends. I never see his families. I never see anybody coming with his house. He's a live alone, probably 20 years.
And back out here live, in the last 2 hours, I did see law enforcement vehicles and fire engines leave this scene. So right now, you see that patrol car is just blocking off the court where the gunman lives, allowing people to come home. They show their identification, and that is the situation out here. Live in San Jose, Gail Ong, KRON4 News.
Gail, thank you. Federal agents are assisting officers in San Jose as they comb through Cassidy's home for anything connected to today's shooting. We wanted to find out exactly what goes into these kinds of investigations.
So we reached out to Michael Anderson. Anderson spent nearly 30 years with the FBI. We wanted to know more about what to expect from the investigation over the next day or so. He says the agency will be flooding the area with resources, trying to learn more about 57-year-old Sam Cassidy, more about a motive. Anderson says there's a lot of collaboration between several agencies. He says with 2 big crime scenes, agents will be very methodical in collecting and cataloging evidence. If needed, agents can use 360-degree photos as they seize evidence so they can see the scene as Cassidy saw it.
In addition to physical evidence, Anderson says teams will be digging, peeling, and uncovering every aspect of Cassidy's life and his background and what might have drove him to carry out this act. Anderson says at first glance, Cassidy did not appear to be involved in any terrorism, but he says Cassidy definitely did not want any type of attention.
Yeah, I don't know that, he fits a particular pattern. I think each one of these cases really is unique because people are motivated by different things. But I think, again, I go back to is he wanted to appear as normal as possible when he walked in to do this, because he wants to get into that building. He doesn't want to be stopped in the parking lot. He wants to get into that building where he is. And to be able to do that, you got to act like it's just any other ordinary day.
A part of that background he's talking about will involve digging into social media, computer records, along with talking to friends and family and co-workers about Cassidy.
And we now know the names of all 8 of the victims who were killed this morning. Here is the list that was put out by the Santa Clara County Coroner's Office. They range in ages from 29 to 63 years of age.
Their lives taken this morning at the VTA maintenance yard in San Jose. Another victim remains injured, badly injured, in a San Jose hospital tonight, and that's where we find KRON4's Dan Thorne.
So Dan, give us the last report we had. This victim was in critical condition. Has anything changed?
Ken and Catherine, there has been no update on that person's conditions here tonight. This has been understandably an extremely challenging day for these families, and also for the family that is probably on edge tonight, waiting to find out more information about their family member who remains here at Santa Clara Valley Medical Center. We only know that this is a man and that they are a VTA employee, but we haven't given much more information outside of that. But we have been learning more information tonight about the other victims who were killed in this morning's shooting. If you take a look here, this was actually one of the friends of San Jose City Council member Raul Peralez. He's been identified as Michael Rudametkin. Peralez called him a great friend, a childhood friend, and they were planning a golf reunion. In losing his friend Mikey, Peralez said that there are no words to describe the heartache that he and his family are feeling. And we are also learning tonight from the family of 63-year-old Lars Lane that he also was killed at the VTA rail yard station here in San Jose this morning. His family says that Lane was a father and a grandfather, and his brother had this to say about his death.
It's horrible. I mean, that's my brother. I mean, even though we don't see each other day to day, month to month, it's still my brother. It's my family, and they're not saying anything. They're talking about police heroism. I expect that. I appreciate that, and I honor the police department. But not knowing is horrific, and they should know. There's no reason why they can't say, I understand it's rude to say there's 8 people dead on the floor. I mean, if they need somebody to go on there and walk on the floor to find out if that one is my brother, I'll be happy too.
Again, just a really challenging day for these families that were trying to learn whether or not their victims or their families had become victims of this shooting. We also heard from the family of Taptay's Deep Singh, who was another VTA worker who was killed this morning, and his family says that Singh's actions were heroic as he tried to save his co-workers amid all of this chaos.
Because he's the one who tried to save a lot of lives before, Yeah, that's why he couldn't save himself. Yeah, and then there's one lady. They said he hid her in the control room. Tell her to hide there. And I think he's tried to saving more people or something. He's even calling to the people. Hey, there's a shooting. How many friends he has around there or co-workers? He was calling them and telling them. So they're telling us that they receive the phone calls or something.
Well, 8 people were killed in this shooting this morning. One of those victims arriving here at the hospital, Valley Medical Center, Santa Clara Valley Medical Center, a spokesperson telling us they were dead on arrival, but that other victim still remaining here tonight in critical condition. And we've been outside of the emergency department all day today, awaiting friends or family seeking information about who this man is. They too are possibly coming here to learn more about the status of their loved one, and we will, of course, keep you up to date as more information becomes available. Ken and Catherine.
Yeah, amazing to hear those stories of people trying to save their colleagues as this was going on, and I imagine we're going to hear more stories like that. Dan, thank you very much. Our coverage continues now with KRON4's Philippe Jagal. He spent the day outside a county office building in San Jose where VTA family members were briefed about the shooting.
A few blocks away from the deadly rail yard shooting in San Jose, Families of VTA employees in search of answers, initially told to meet at the county administration building on West Heading Street for updates. One man unclear of his uncle's status, a longtime rail operator. A nephew in disbelief.
I never thought anything like this would even happen to any of my family members. Like, I see it over the news all the time, and all of a sudden it's becoming reality. It's crazy.
Federal and local law enforcement agencies receiving briefings about the incident, also stopping by the county building to pay their respects to the families going through this.
The Oakland Police Department is offering our support, our condolences to the family and the friends and the community of Santa Clara. We went through this ourselves with the Oikos mass shooting, so we completely understand this horrific and tragedy.
San Jose Council member Matt Mahan also serves as vice chair of the VTA's Policy and Advisory Committee. He is at a loss for words.
I think it's early to talk about policy. I think if anything, what we're going to want to look at the Policy Advisory Committee is how we can best support the victims' families.
In San Jose, Philippe Jagal, KRON4 News.
VTA's light rail trains were already on the move when the shooting started, so service was not affected for the morning commute. But they did have to shut down the rail system at noon as the investigation got into high gear. All of the VTA facilities were swept by security teams with bomb-sniffing dogs just before 5 o'clock this afternoon. So for now, the light rail stops are deserted and will remain so until further notice. Bus bridges are running along those rail stops. The chairman of the VTA Board of Directors and president of the Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors gave the men and women on the job today major props for their professionalism during this very emotional day.
So a horrible tragedy has happened today, and our thoughts and love goes out to the VTA family, the organization, and what they've had to go through. I could not be more proud of the VTA organization. As I drove here, I saw VTA buses out on the road. As I said, this is just a horrible tragedy that has occurred.
My heart is just really broken for these families, and I just want to remind everybody that these folks were heroes during COVID-19. The buses never stopped running, VTA didn't stop running, they just kept at work, and now we're really calling on them to be heroes a second time to survive such a terrible, terrible tragedy.
VTA's Twitter feed, by the way, is cautioning people that they should give themselves some extra time to get to where they need to go while we go through this transition.
There has been a real outpouring of both shock and support tonight from local leaders for the victims. KRON4's Ella Sugimonian is here in the studio with more on their messages. Ella?
Well, Catherine and Ken, as family members slowly learn the fate of their loved ones, San Jose city and county leaders have joined our national leaders, of course, the vice president and president, in vocalizing their outrage and are contemplating what more can be done to stop gun violence. This is the second tragedy to plague the South Bay in recent years.
Shooting in Gilroy at the Garlic Festival a couple of years ago. The mayor has been putting out information about how we can possibly get a handle on this in our city of San Jose and make the city of San Jose safer. I haven't seen any specific plans, but I know he intends to come out with something in a few days, and I support his efforts to take whatever action we need to make the city safe for our residents.
But there are some policies that we can implement at the local level to make it, to create some barriers to gun purchases, maybe straw gun purchases or other policies that we can implement to at least enforce existing laws and just really creates certain barriers to someone who has mental illness or has a criminal background from purchasing a gun. But there's only so much we could do at the local level.
County leaders also said that people who want to help out the victims' families can donate to a fund that was set up over at partnershipusa.org. Meantime, a vigil for the victims is going to be happening for the VTA shooting tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. That's going to be over at San Jose City Hall. Live in the studio, Ella Sugimonian, KRON4 News.
Thank you, Ella. We have on KRON4.com a section with what you need to know about today's mass shooting. You can use your phone to scan this QR code. You'll find a live blog with the latest updates, details on the reunification center, the news conferences from today, and reaction from local officials. Also, information on mass shootings that have happened in the Bay Area.
Our coverage of this mass shooting continues. We're going to hear about a San Jose City Council member's agonizing wait to learn if one of his close childhood